Imagine waking up one morning with a strange, lingering feeling, an emotion you can't quite place, a thought just outside your grasp. You go about your day, interacting with others, making decisions, reacting to situations, but beneath it all, there's something deeper guiding you, something unseen, yet profoundly influential. This hidden force is what Carl Jung called the subconscious mind, a vast reservoir of thoughts, memories, instincts, and emotions that shape your behavior in ways you may not even realize. You might believe you are fully in control of your decisions, but much of what you do, think, and feel originates from this shadowy realm beneath your conscious awareness. The subconscious is not merely a storage unit for forgotten experiences, it is an active, dynamic force constantly influencing your reactions, desires, and fears. It holds the echoes of your childhood, the lessons absorbed from your culture, the dreams you have long abandoned, and the patterns you keep repeating, even when they no longer serve you. Jung devoted much of his life to understanding the unconscious, arguing that it holds not only our suppressed fears and desires, but also the very essence of who we are. While Freud, his mentor turned rival, believed the unconscious was primarily a place of repressed trauma and forbidden urges, Jung saw it as something far more expansive, a gateway to self-acknowledge, creativity, and transformation. He believed that unlocking the subconscious was not about merely unearthing past wounds, but about reconnecting with the lost fragments of the self, integrating them into the whole, and achieving a state of individuation, becoming the person you were truly meant to be. But the subconscious does not reveal itself easily. It communicates in whispers, through dreams, symbols, sudden insights, and recurring patterns in our lives. It manifests in our reactions to others, in the things that provoke or fascinate us, in the habits we cannot break. To unlock its secrets, we must learn how to listen, how to decipher its language, and ultimately, how to integrate it into our conscious self. This is where most people struggle. The modern world keeps us distracted, pushing us toward external validation and constant stimulation, making it difficult to hear the subtle voice of the subconscious. But if you do not pay attention to it, it does not go silent. Instead, it finds other ways to make itself known, often through anxiety, compulsions, self-sabotage, and unexplained emotional responses. Jung believed that most people go through life disconnected from their subconscious, caught in cycles of repetitive behavior, drawn to situations that echo past wounds without ever understanding why. The key to breaking free lies in what he called individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious mind to become a whole, fully realized self. This is not an easy path. It requires deep introspection, self-honesty, and the courage to confront parts of yourself you might rather ignore. But without this integration, you remain fragmented, at war with yourself, unable to move forward in a way that feels truly authentic. In this journey, symbols and archetypes play a crucial role. According to Jung, the subconscious speaks in the language of universal symbols, ancient patterns of meaning that appear across cultures and throughout history. These archetypes, such as the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, and the anima or animus, shape our perceptions and influence our relationships even when we are unaware of them. They emerge in myths, in religious traditions, in literature, and most importantly, in our own personal dreams and fantasies. Recognizing these symbols and understanding how they operate within you is the first step toward unlocking the deeper layers of your mind. Have you ever met someone and felt an instant connection or deep aversion without understanding why? Have you ever had a dream that felt more real than reality itself? These are glimpses into the subconscious at work, revealing fragments of your deeper self. Often, the qualities we admire or resent in others are reflections of our own unconscious projections. The people who irritate us most may embody aspects of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, while those we idolize might represent parts of us we have neglected or suppressed. These projections are not random. They are signposts, guiding us toward the aspects of ourselves that need attention. But the subconscious mind is not just about personal experiences. Jung proposed that beneath our individual unconscious lies the collective unconscious, a vast network of shared human experiences and instincts passed down through generations. This means that many of our fears, desires, and struggles are not just personal but deeply woven into the fabric of humanity itself. The fear of the unknown, the search for meaning, the tension between belonging and individuality, these are not just your struggles, but the struggles of countless others who have walked this path before you. To unlock the subconscious mind is to gain access to this immense well of knowledge, to understand yourself on a level beyond the everyday, to break free from self-imposed limitations. But this is not something that happens passively. It requires a deliberate effort, a willingness to look inward, to question your assumptions, and to embrace the discomfort of self-discovery. The question is, are you ready to face what lies beneath the surface? Imagine walking through your daily life, believing that every decision you make is based on logic, reason, and conscious intent. You choose your career, your relationships, your passions, and even your fears with what feels like complete agency. But beneath the surface, something deeper is at work. Invisible currents, shaped by childhood experiences, past traumas, and inherited cultural beliefs, are steering your choices in ways you rarely acknowledge. Jung argued that the subconscious is not just a passive storage space for forgotten memories. It is an active force, shaping your identity, often without your awareness. To truly unlock the subconscious, you must first recognize how much of your life is dictated by unseen forces. This realization can be unsettling because it forces you to question the foundation of who you think you are. Have you ever wondered why you react so strongly to certain situations? Why you feel inexplicably drawn to certain types of people or repelled by others? These reactions are often not random, but rather clues to the underlying patterns that have been ingrained in your subconscious. Jung believed that much of our psychological distress comes from the tension between who we consciously believe we are and who we truly are at a deeper level. This is where his concept of the shadow becomes crucial. The shadow represents the parts of yourself that you have repressed, qualities, desires, and emotions that do not align with the image you have crafted for yourself. Society teaches us to suppress aspects of our personality that are deemed undesirable, such as anger, selfishness, or vulnerability. But repressing these traits does not make them disappear. Instead, they sink into the subconscious, where they continue to influence your behavior in hidden ways. Consider a person who prides themselves on always being kind and agreeable. They might suppress their anger, convincing themselves that they never get upset. But that anger does not vanish. Instead, it manifests in passive-aggressive behavior, resentment, or even physical symptoms like stress and tension. Another example is someone who outwardly projects confidence but inwardly struggles with self-doubt. They may unconsciously seek out situations that validate their fears, sabotaging their own success without realizing it. Jung argued that the key to psychological growth is not to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it, to acknowledge these hidden aspects and bring them into conscious awareness. This process is difficult because it requires brutal honesty with yourself. It means admitting that you are not always who you present yourself to be, but it is also liberating. When you integrate the shadow, you reclaim the energy that was previously spent repressing it. You stop being controlled by unconscious fears and compulsions, and you begin to act from a place of wholeness rather than fragmentation. But how do you bring these hidden aspects to light? One of the most powerful ways is through self-observation. Pay attention to your emotional reactions, especially the strong ones. The things that anger, frustrate, or deeply move you often point to something unresolved within you. If you find yourself irritated by someone's arrogance, ask yourself, is there a part of me that secretly desires to be more assertive? If you are drawn to people who seem free-spirited and unconventional, could it be that you have suppressed that same quality in yourself? Dreams are another window into the subconscious. Jung believed that dreams are not meaningless, but symbolic messages from the unconscious mind. They reveal conflicts, hidden fears, and desires in a way that bypasses the rational mind. Paying attention to recurring themes in your dreams can offer valuable insight into what your subconscious is trying to communicate. Patterns in your life also serve as clues. Do you keep ending up in the same kinds of relationships? Do you always seem to attract the same challenges, no matter how much you try to change? These patterns are often driven by unconscious beliefs and unresolved emotions. The more you recognize them, the more power you have to break free from them. Society plays a significant role in shaping your subconscious as well. From an early age, you are conditioned to adopt certain beliefs about success, love, and identity. The expectations of your culture, family, and peers become embedded in your subconscious, influencing your decisions without you even realizing it. Many people go through life pursuing goals that are not truly their own, simply because they have absorbed the idea that they should want certain things. But the subconscious does not lie. If you feel unfulfilled despite outward success, if you constantly experience internal resistance to the path you are on, it may be because you are living according to someone else's script rather than your own truth. Unlocking your subconscious is not about gaining control over every hidden impulse. It is about understanding yourself so deeply that you can make choices based on authenticity rather than unconscious conditioning. It is about recognizing when you are acting from fear rather than freedom, from habit rather than true desire. This journey requires patience. The subconscious does not reveal itself all at once, but with each layer you uncover, you gain more clarity, more self-awareness, and more agency over your life. If the subconscious mind is shaping your life in ways you do not fully understand, the next logical step is learning how to interact with it. Carl Jung believed that true transformation begins when we actively engage with our unconscious, rather than passively allowing it to direct our behavior. But how do you access something that, by definition, operates below conscious awareness? The answer lies in techniques that bypass the rational mind and bring hidden aspects of yourself into the light. One of the most powerful methods Jung developed for this purpose is active imagination. Unlike traditional introspection, which is guided by rational thought, active imagination allows you to communicate directly with the subconscious by giving it a voice. The process is simple but requires deep focus. You start with an image, a dream, or a strong emotional reaction, something that has surfaced from the unconscious. Then, instead of analyzing it intellectually, you allow it to unfold as if it were a living thing. For example, let's say you have a recurring dream about standing at the edge of a vast ocean, feeling both drawn to it and afraid to step in. Rather than dismissing it, you close your eyes and visualize the scene again, allowing your subconscious to reveal more details. What does the ocean represent to you? Do you hear a voice calling you forward? Do you resist or dive in? By engaging in this way, you turn abstract symbols into direct dialogue, gaining insight that your logical mind alone could never provide. Another technique Jung emphasized is shadow work, which involves deliberately confronting the aspects of yourself that you have denied or repressed. Most people think of personal growth as cultivating positive traits, becoming kinder, more disciplined, or more successful. But Jung argued that true growth comes not just from adding to yourself, but from reclaiming what you have lost. Imagine a person who always seeks approval from others, constantly playing the role of the good and helpful individual. This behavior may seem noble, but often it comes at the cost of suppressing their own needs and desires. Their subconscious might contain a great deal of anger, resentment, or even an untapped sense of personal power that they have been conditioned to suppress. Shadow work means acknowledging these hidden emotions without shame or guilt. It does not mean acting on every impulse, but rather accepting that these feelings exist and understanding their roots. Journaling is one of the simplest but most effective tools for uncovering the subconscious. Writing down your thoughts, dreams, and emotional reactions helps reveal patterns you may not have noticed before. A useful exercise is stream of consciousness writing, setting a timer for 10 or 15 minutes and writing without censoring yourself. The key is not to filter or edit, but to let your thoughts flow freely. What emerges might surprise you. Another method is symbolic analysis. The subconscious often communicates through symbols, whether in dreams, art, or personal metaphors. When you feel stuck in life, take note of the images that come to mind. Do you picture yourself in a locked room? Do you see yourself running endlessly but never arriving anywhere? These images are not random. They are messages from the subconscious, offering clues about your inner world. Meditation and visualization are also powerful tools for accessing the subconscious. In deep relaxation, your conscious mind becomes quieter, allowing hidden thoughts and emotions to surface. A simple technique is to focus on a question before meditating, something like, "What is holding me back?" or "What do I truly desire?" Rather than forcing an answer, let your mind drift and see what images, sensations, or memories emerge. These are often direct messages from the subconscious. But accessing the subconscious is only part of the process. Once you become aware of its messages, you must learn how to integrate them into your daily life. Jung warned that merely uncovering the unconscious is not enough. True transformation requires applying what you discover. If you recognize that you have been suppressing anger, how will you express it in a healthy way? If you realize that fear has been controlling your choices, how will you begin taking steps toward courage? The integration process requires action. It means adjusting how you respond to situations based on your newfound awareness. If your subconscious has been urging you toward change, you must listen. This might mean setting boundaries, leaving toxic situations, or allowing yourself to pursue long-buried dreams. The subconscious does not reveal itself for entertainment. It speaks because it wants you to grow. Many people resist this process because it is uncomfortable. Jung himself acknowledged that the journey into the unconscious is not always pleasant. It can bring up fears, regrets, and painful memories. But ignoring it does not make these things disappear. It only gives them more power over you. Facing your subconscious is an act of self-liberation. It is a way of reclaiming the parts of yourself that you have buried, of breaking free from unseen chains. Unlocking the subconscious is only the beginning. Awareness alone is not enough. It must be followed by transformation. This is where Jung's concept of individuation comes into play, the lifelong process of integrating all aspects of the self to achieve true wholeness. To individuate is to reconcile the conscious and unconscious mind, to embrace both light and shadow, and to live authentically free from the unconscious patterns that once controlled you. Most people go through life unconsciously, molded by their upbringing, social conditioning, and the expectations of others. They construct a personality based on what is accepted, rewarded, or deemed valuable by society. But in doing so, they often suppress essential parts of themselves. A person who was taught that being assertive is aggressive might repress their confidence. Another who is shamed for expressing vulnerability might build emotional walls. Over time, these fragmented pieces of the self become buried deep in the subconscious, manifesting in anxiety, dissatisfaction, or a persistent sense of feeling lost. Individuation is the process of reclaiming and integrating these lost aspects, allowing a person to become whole again. A key component of individuation is embracing the shadow, the hidden, rejected parts of the psyche. Shadow work is not just about acknowledging the dark traits within us, but recognizing how they can be transformed into sources of strength. The person who represses their anger, for example, might discover that this emotion contains a powerful drive for self-respect and personal boundaries. The person who avoids vulnerability might learn that openness is the key to genuine connection. But individuation is not only about integrating what has been rejected. It is also about discovering the self, the deeper, authentic core of who you are, beneath all conditioning. Jung believed that many people live primarily from their persona, the social mask they wear to fit into the world. This mask is not inherently bad. It allows us to navigate society, but it is not the whole truth of who we are. The self is the larger, more expansive aspect of our being, the true center of our personality that transcends the persona. How do you begin the journey of individuation? The first step is self-exploration without judgment. This means actively reflecting on your thoughts, emotions, and reactions without dismissing or rationalizing them. When something triggers you, ask why. When you feel inexplicably drawn to something, investigate the source. Pay attention to recurring dreams, fantasies, or symbols in your life. They are clues left by the subconscious. Jungian therapy often uses dream analysis as a gateway to the unconscious. The subconscious speaks in symbols, and dreams offer raw, unfiltered glimpses into hidden aspects of the psyche. Keeping a dream journal and analyzing recurring themes can help uncover messages from the unconscious. If you frequently dream of being chased, It may indicate an unresolved fear or an aspect of yourself you are avoiding. If you dream of vast landscapes or unknown paths, it could signal a call to personal expansion. Another crucial aspect of individuation is embracing inner contradictions. Many people struggle with conflicting aspects of their personality: rational vs emotional, introverted vs extroverted, ambitious vs content. Rather than forcing yourself to choose between them, individuation encourages you to accept both sides. Jung saw psychological balance as the key to wholeness. Trying to suppress one side only creates more internal conflict. Instead of labeling emotions as good or bad, strong or weak, view them as different facets of the same whole. The process of individuation is often uncomfortable because it requires letting go of outdated identities. We become attached to certain self-images because they provide stability, but sometimes what once defined us becomes a cage. Someone who has always identified as a people-pleaser might resist stepping into self-assertion because it feels unfamiliar. A person who built their identity around success might struggle when facing failure. Individuation means allowing yourself to evolve beyond these rigid definitions and embracing the fluid, ever-changing nature of the self. But individuation is not just an internal process. It must also be lived out in the world. If you uncover new aspects of yourself but do not embody them in your actions, they remain theoretical. This means making choices that align with your true self even when they are uncomfortable. It means setting boundaries, pursuing passions, speaking truths you once silenced. The ultimate goal of individuation is not perfection but authenticity. To live in a way that reflects the totality of who you are. The subconscious mind is not formed in isolation. From the moment we are born, we are shaped by the world around us, our culture, upbringing, education, and social environment. Without realizing it, we absorb the values, fears, and expectations of those around us. Society imprints its own ideas onto us, dictating what is acceptable, what is desirable, and what is forbidden. Over time, these influences become so deeply embedded that we mistake them for our own thoughts. Carl Jung recognized that much of human suffering stems from living under these invisible influences without questioning them. Many people experience anxiety, self-doubt, or a persistent feeling of inauthenticity, not because of personal failings, but because they are living out roles that were never truly theirs. They pursue careers that society deems respectable, relationships that fit conventional norms, and lifestyles that promise status or security, only to find themselves feeling hollow inside. One of the most powerful forces shaping the subconscious is the collective unconscious, a concept Jung used to describe the shared reservoir of human experiences, archetypes, and inherited symbols that influence all of us. These archetypes, such as the hero, the caregiver, the rebel, are deeply embedded in cultural narratives and shape the way we see ourselves and others. Society amplifies certain archetypes while suppressing others, leading people to unconsciously conform to roles rather than carve out their own paths. Consider the expectations placed upon individuals based on gender, nationality, or family background. A person born into a traditional household may be unconsciously driven to follow a prescribed path, even if it does not align with their true self. A child praised only for academic success may grow into an adult who equates self-worth with achievement, unable to rest without feeling guilty. These are not conscious decisions. They are subconscious programs that run beneath the surface, guiding behavior without awareness. The first step to breaking free from these influences is recognizing them. Self-reflection is essential, questioning why you hold certain beliefs, why you react to certain situations in specific ways, and whether your desires are truly your own or products of conditioning. Ask yourself, if I had been raised in a completely different culture, would I still hold the same values? Would I still define success, love, or happiness in the same way? This exercise reveals just how much of our subconscious programming is inherited rather than chosen. One of the greatest illusions is the belief that we are independent thinkers. In reality, much of what we consider personal opinions are shaped by exposure. Social norms dictate behavior. Media influences perception, and institutions reinforce particular ways of thinking. Jung warned that people who never examine these forces remain psychological prisoners, trapped not by external constraints, but by unconscious mental patterns that dictate their actions. Escaping this mental prison does not mean rejecting everything society has taught. It means developing discernment, choosing which influences to keep and which to discard. This is not an easy process. It often requires confronting uncomfortable truths, facing criticism, and stepping into uncertainty. But it is the only path to true psychological freedom. Jung believed that true growth requires confronting the unknown. Most people cling to familiar beliefs, even when they no longer serve them, because uncertainty feels like a threat. The mind prefers the comfort of the known, even when the known is limiting. But freedom comes from stepping beyond these familiar walls and reclaiming the ability to define life on your own terms. Once you begin this process, everything shifts. You start recognizing when fears are not truly yours, but inherited anxieties passed down from others. You see how certain aspirations were never your own, but were implanted by societal expectations. You realize that much of what you once believed to be inevitable was simply a script written for you long before you could choose for yourself. Recognizing the subconscious influences that shape your life is only the beginning. Awareness alone does not dissolve deeply ingrained beliefs, it merely exposes them. To truly unlock your subconscious mind, you must take deliberate steps to reprogram it. This requires more than intellectual understanding. It demands active engagement with the patterns that have controlled your thoughts and behaviors for years, sometimes even decades. Carl Jung believed that transformation comes from integrating the unconscious into the conscious. This means becoming an active participant in shaping your inner world, rather than passively allowing external forces to dictate it. Reprogramming the subconscious is not about erasing the past or rejecting all prior conditioning. It is about filtering through your beliefs, keeping what serves you and replacing what limits you. The process begins with examining your inner dialogue. Pay close attention to the automatic thoughts that arise in different situations. Do you instinctively doubt yourself when faced with a challenge? Do you hear the voice of a critical parent or a demanding authority figure when making decisions? Many subconscious beliefs reveal themselves through self-talk. If your inner dialogue is filled with self-limiting messages, it is not because they are true, but because they have been reinforced repeatedly over time. One method of shifting this dialogue is through affirmations, but not in the superficial way they are often portrayed. Telling yourself, "I am confident," when you deeply feel insecure, will not work. Instead, reprogramming requires affirmations that challenge limiting beliefs while remaining believable to your subconscious. Instead of forcing a statement that feels false, begin with something more neutral. "I am learning to trust myself more each day." Over time, the subconscious accepts these new narratives as reality, especially when reinforced by action. Another powerful tool is visualization. The subconscious does not distinguish between real experiences and vividly imagined ones. This is why memories from years ago can still evoke strong emotions, and why daydreams can influence mood. By consciously visualizing the person you want to become, seeing yourself act with confidence, resilience, and clarity, you begin planting new subconscious patterns. The key is to engage all the senses, making these imagined experiences as real as possible. But mental work alone is not enough. True reprogramming requires behavioral alignment. The subconscious mind learns through repetition and experience. If you want to override old beliefs, you must act in ways that reinforce new ones. If your subconscious has been programmed to fear rejection, exposing yourself to situations where rejection is possible, small, manageable steps can rewire that fear over time. Each time you take an action that contradicts an old belief, your subconscious receives new evidence that reshapes its programming. Jung also emphasized the importance of symbolism and rituals in shaping the subconscious. Humans have used symbols for thousands of years to reinforce beliefs and mental states. Whether through religion, mythology, or personal practices, symbols create meaning and deepen emotional connections. You can apply this principle by creating personal rituals that signal transformation to your subconscious. This could be as simple as writing down old limiting beliefs and physically discarding them, using music to anchor certain mental states, or adopting a physical object, a bracelet, a coin, a stone, as a symbolic reminder of your commitment to change. The most challenging part of this process is consistency. The subconscious does not change overnight. Just as it took years to absorb certain beliefs, it takes time to rewrite them. Many people attempt change, but give up when they do not see immediate results. This is where most transformation fails, not because change is impossible, but because persistence is required. One of Jung's most profound insights was that growth requires discomfort. The subconscious resists change not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. It clings to familiar patterns because familiarity feels safe. This is why breaking subconscious programming often feels unsettling at first. But discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is shifting. As you go through this process, you will begin to notice changes. You will catch yourself questioning thoughts that once seemed automatic. You will feel more control over your emotions rather than being ruled by them. You will start acting in ways that align with your true self rather than old conditioning. The world will appear different, not because it has changed, but because your perception has. Ultimately, unlocking your subconscious mind is about reclaiming your power. It is about recognizing that you are not a passive product of your past, but an active creator of your future. It is about understanding that the mind is not a fixed structure, but a fluid, evolving force that can be shaped with intention. And most importantly, it is about realizing that the barriers you once thought were unbreakable were never truly there, only deeply ingrained illusions waiting to be rewritten.